Welcome to Wine Library TV. I am your host, Gary Vaynerchuk, and this, my friends, is the Thunder Show, aka the internet's most passionate wine program. It's a glorious Monday, Mr. Mott. Now, the lighting I liked from the last episode, is it because the shades were up or down? Do you remember you said you had a point?
The only thing that was different was the shade was up.
So let's put it up, right? Because I liked it. It looked better quality. Always trying to work and improving the Thunder Show. Great show. What's that?
It's because I'm trying to crush it.
Because you're trying to crush it. Speaking of crush it, let me just go right off the bat. The site's not up yet, and I know everybody's waiting for the official announcement of the Crush It Cruise. Just a couple more details because I want to make it awesome for you. But the dates are going to be March 20th to the 27th. So look at your calendars. Next year, Crush It Cruise. All 300 people that went last year are coming back. That's how awesome it was. We're making even better, so keep that in mind. We're going to be talking about Taylor today. Taylor Fladgate, one of the great port houses in the world. We talk a lot about Portugal red wines here on the Thunder Show in the last year, about the up-and-comingness of it, but there's no reason not to talk about the Douro and its amazing dessert wines, the port that so many of us have talked about. I thought I haven't done a port show in a long time. You can see, very viscous, so bringing out 3 glasses. One's a port glass, one's a Riedel white wine glass, the Venom series. It's a glass that I've used a lot lately to drink port occasionally when I have, so I thought it'd be interesting to kind of like just at least talk about that. But we've got some serious stuff here today, Vaniacs. 77, 94, which is a 100-pointer, and 2005 from, I'll zoom in right here, from the Vargelis vineyard. This is when a vintage is not declared. It comes from the Vargelis, and I want to talk about that because the Vargelis, vineyard is widely respected as one of the greatest in the world, and there's many people that are hardcore port fans that believe that the declassified, or not, let me phrase that, not declassified, the non-declared vintages of Taylor, because the Vargelis vineyard is so special, are even better than most of the other powerhouses declared vintage ports. So I'm very excited about trying it. Plus, when they're not declared and they go single vineyard like that, they are very well priced. Comments, Mr. Mott. Two-parter from Heidi Barrett. Very well received, Mott.
Very.
Yeah. Sean and Lou says, holy crap. Talk about a huge guest. First Gretzky, and now the 99 of the wine world. Question today. Syrah is vastly underappreciated. I would argue that quite a few of the Rhone varietals are. I agree with that. Grenache, Mabed, Cinsault. I think I agree with you, Sean. Great comment. Dale Cruz says, great maniac. Knock knock, who's there? Interrupting Gary Vaynerchuk. Interrupting Gary Vaynerchuk who? What's the retail price on this? This falls under the category mod of you can't please everybody every time. Dale is the best and has my heart. I love the man. I've seen him but Dale, is he knocking me here, Mott, for interrupting Heidi? Because I thought that was by far my best interviewing job. Everybody said it, but of course, somebody's got to come out and do the knock-knock joke. I respect it. I'll listen. You put yourself out there, you've got to respect people's opinions. I will continue to try to get better, Dale. I apologize. Chris Coffey says, Gary, I don't usually like the guest shows, but it was amazing. Instant classic. Question today, Mott, it is an instant classic. Why don't you pick one of the two and put it on the Hall of Fame on the right side? Favorite episodes.
Okay,
all right.
I could just do it as one complete episode too.
Wow. Let's do that.
That'll take a little time to put together, but I'll do that.
I'm impressed with your step-up skills.
Crush it, baby.
Crush it. I usually don't... Oh, did that? Okay, and Don said... Oh, no, I'm sorry. Question of the day about Heidi asking about the Syrah and Pinot. I like both Pinot and Syrah, but don't understand the Pinot pricing explosion. I think of food pairings, Pinot Noir may be more versatile, but lacks the yum factor of well-made Syrah. Great show. Chris, great comment. And Don says, I love this. I don't comment very much, but hey, good is good and needs to be encouraged. Don, I appreciate the encouragement. I take it. Roaring 40s blue cheese, Mott. This stuff is the legit delish. The first cheese to ever make a second appearance. We did once do Roaring 40s way back. I can't drink port without some Roaring 40s. Taylor, 1977 vintage port. 96 points, Robert Parker. The low price of $220 US. Now, when you talk about port and you talk about, Touriga Nacional and the grape varietals, Franca and all that, you're talking about wines that are just so amazing, so respected, so world class. Really kind of just some of the best wines in the world. I mean, they've been respected forever. I mean, let's talk about Taylor. It's been around now for over 300 years, Mont. It's sold in like 57 countries. It's got crazy respect. It's a brand that really rivals First Growth Bordeaux, and really nothing else. I mean, it's got that kind of prestige. Now, over the last 5 to 10 years, port has taken a substantial hit in popularity, in my opinion, here in the U.S. Still a very strong kind of brand category in the UK, but definitely less and less people are clamoring for great declared vintage port. When I first got into the business, people were dying over the 94s. I mean, emotions. This is a true story, 2 guys got into a fight in the parking lot because one guy grabbed the last case of Fonseca from us and the other guy wanted it. It definitely seems like I've got to stop doing this. It definitely seems more like a traditional kind of collector's item. And it's been fascinating for me to watch its drop off in mind share of the up and coming wine consumer. Thus, I feel, little cork, a little bit of responsibility to at least talk about it and see if we can get a little cork out of here. And see if we can get a little more attention for it, because boy oh boy, and everybody's like, this is disgusting. Sorry, it's my hand. I'm not worried about it. Got it, Mott. See, that was the little guy. He was really baffling me. Anyway, so I feel a sense of responsibility to bring it at least to some level, at least debating the quality and the impact and more importantly, the fact of the matter is that you can't really replicate what this kind of wine does in other categories. So for me, if you were a cigar smoker, at least what I hear, I've never smoked a cigar, but if for cigar smokers, or if you're a big fan of cheese, if you don't want to do brandy or scotch after a wonderful meal, port is really, really where it's at. Let's give it a sniffy sniff. Definitely the alcohol component coming through, almost like rubbing alcohol coming through on the nose. You're going to get that. But there's this gorgeous underlining caramel meets kind of like ripe raspberry. Really, really interesting nose. Just quite caramelized, almost like baked goods. Interesting. Let's give it a whirl. Clearly, as in most fortified wines, you're getting that brandy essence, but just gorgeous mouthfeel. Has a very nice roundness to it. Also, quite substantial length. I'm tasting this wine easily right now, and it's really not giving up. I mean, I think we're going to see at least another 20 to 40 seconds on this finish, maybe more. Quite a substantial long finish. Really has a lot of nuances that I find quite interesting. I also have to stop saying quite. I'm on fire with quite and quotes. I'm very worried about my quite quotes syndrome. Please help me, Vayner Nation. You're my only hope. What's really intriguing about this wine is there's this almost like fruit roll-up layered flavor that comes in on the tail end of like cranberry sauce. Reminds me of just a Thanksgiving dinner. There's something that's brought me to an October, November kind of feel, fall. Maybe that's just traditionally when I've drank port, but it's clearly coming at the forefront as I consume this. Easily one of the more smoother ports I've had in a little while. It's aged. It's from a classic vintage. 77 is way, way up there. 63, 77, 91, 94, 2000, 97. I also love 83 and 85, tremendous vintages. 70 is spectacular. There's no denying this butterscotch caramel transition on the mid palate. Very good stuff. Really, really interesting to be fortunate enough. I'm very lucky to drink wine of this caliber 30 years later plus. And I like it. I don't know if it's a 96 pointer for me. I've never been traditionally the craziest about port. I've always respected it and liked it quite a bit. I'd probably score this wine 92 points. I like it. I definitely wouldn't go 220 on it. But if somebody put it in front of me, I definitely would drink it. Good start. Not great. Going older to younger just because of the power of port. 94 Taylor Fladgate. 100 points Wine Spectator. $175. This wine means a lot to me because it really, really was attention grabbing. Come on, take a look at the coloring. Can we get it with the light? How much darker the 94 is? That's what happens. Port's going to continue to age, lighten down, calm down a little. It's kind of like us, humans. You know, start toning down as you get a little bit older. You know, things start happening. By the way, I get my MRI results today on my knee, but it looks like I might have torn my meniscus, which is very devastating. So, see what happens there. All right, sniffy sniff time. Definitely a more closed nose than the last wine. I get really nice violets and rosemary, very floral on the nose in comparison to the first wine. None of that butterscotch caramel brandy-esque things going on. Very tight nose. I'm quite surprised. Let's give it a whirl. Let me rephrase my quite surprised statement. I'm far from surprised because this is still very young. The tannins are ripping through my palate on the back end right now. Really firm and just a big wine. This really tastes like I took a huge bite out of a dark chocolate bitter batch of chocolate. You know, just rolled into like a chocolatier and said, what do you have with the highest cocoa count and the most bitter action? Oh, right over here. Oh, really? I just bit it. It attacks me that much on the back end. Very focused bottle of port. Big, viscous, heavy, almost like heavy cream compared to water. It's got great viscosity and mouthfeel is what I'm looking for. Thank you. I like that. I also like this really sour cherry flavor that's going on. So it really reminds me of like a Russian dessert. My parents, anytime they had Russian relatives, they'd come in, they'd go to like the Russian store, and they'd always come, never with the candy that I wanted, like Runts or Nerds or all that stuff, but it would always come with candy like, you know, like heavy dark chocolate covered cherries. And I would be like, this sucks. You know, it always had like a bear on it. Everything was Medvedets in Russian. Everything had a bear on it or a wolf. And I just didn't like them. It reminds me a little bit of that level of flavors. Let me give one more shot. This is very good wine. This is going to age extremely well. Look for this port to be able to last for another 40 to 60 years. That got your eyebrows going, Matt. I'd go 94 points on this wine. I think it has big potential. I'm not in the 100-point range that the Spectator is, but I think it's very well made. And I think my intuition says that if I was to put a port away for a long, long time, I would highly look at this wine. I think it's spectacular. 175 bones, expensive, but it's very, very good. And finally, a 2005 Taylor Fladgate Varjelis. Now, you see what's going on there? 26 bones, 92 points. Neil Martin, who writes for Robert Parker's Wine Advocate. Understand the Varjelis vineyard. It's one of the most respected vineyards in the world. Again, 60% of the vineyards are older than 75 years old, Matt. So, you know, there's records of the Varjelis being sold at Christie's 180 years ago at auction. So this is very serious stuff. I think way too many people, you know, even casual wine fans, when they don't see that the wine is vintage, you know, declared, they don't assume that the quality is as good. But many times when you have a very strong vintage that wasn't declared, a la '05, it was right there, and then they only take it from the single vineyard, and it's the highest quality stuff, you can get spectacular wine. So to be blunt with you, I'm very excited about the possibilities of this wine. You know, great color, very dark. Let's give it a sniffy sniff. There's a little bit of a chalkiness that I'm attacked with right away, which I find interesting. Actually, a little bit like a sawdust component. And for some reason, like an underlying mustard thing going on, Mott. It's not really mustard, but my nose has the sensation of like mustard. Interesting. Let's give it a whirl. Couple things. First of all, more approachable than I expected it to be. The tannins are hidden by this almost like reduced licorice meets black mulberries. Yeah, really interesting. It's very viscous, very smooth, dramatically more drinkable than I thought. On the back end, I'm catching a little caramel. Now I'm digging into a little roaring 40s. But really, really good complexity. There's a cocoa kind of component here. I'm looking for the marshmallows. Well made. I like it. I like the fruit, and I like the backbone. I think this has potential. I'd probably score it 90 points instead of 92, but I think it has big upside, and definitely somebody who's trying to first get into port, doesn't break the bank at 26 bones for a half bottle. A good, approachable thing. Now, I'm going to have a little bit of this blue cheese. If you've never had great blue cheese with port, you're missing out on one of the great combos in life. Peanut butter and jelly, Sonny and Cher, Mott and GV. I mean, this is one of the great combos. Going back to 94 because I liked it so much. What happens is blue cheese is so thick that it really starts to cover your palate with all the fat. And when the port comes on, it's ridiculous. Science is something I failed every marking period, Mott, but something I'm totally fascinated by. Because your palate is thick and covered with the fat from the cheese, the alcohol and the bitterness and the tannins and the sharpness are kind of neutralized, and all you're tasting is this beautiful caramel, black mulberry gorgeousness of fruit and flavors that are, I mean, I really, it's interesting. It's kind of like Coke. There's something soda that makes you want more, right? The sugar makes you want to drink more of it or not. I kind of get the same thing here. I mean, I'm gravitating towards trying more. This was a very special episode for me because we got to try some really good port. I'm quite impressed with all three efforts across the board, which rarely happens. I like port. Ironically, though, both of these spectacularly thought of. I would not rate as high, and I probably wouldn't necessarily recommend you going out and finding. This, on the other hand, I think at the price point is a great entry for you to go out and find new wines. That's about it. Not much more. I kind of want to get off the air and eat more of this cheese, Mott. Please check out the New York events on your right side. Live New York Week and this food and wine thing in October in New York. This is going to be one of the great events. Please schlep out. I'm going to hang out afterwards, but the event I'm going to put on is going to be badass, for lack of a better word. Question of the day. Port. Give me your take. Give me your thesis. I need more comments or I'm going to quit. You, with a little bit of me, we are changing the wine world.